ChatGPT came out and everybody went nuts. And our initial reaction was kind of defensive. No, this is the same thing. It's great, but it's not revolutionary. We've been using things like it. And then we just realized like you cannot fight this and you really shouldn't.
Hello everyone, my name is Nico Simko and I'm one of the co-founders and CEO of Claire. Today I'm super excited to have Sami Ghoche here. Sami and I know each other since we're 18 years old. We went to college together, we're in the same class. Sami is one of the co-founders and towards the end the CEO of Forethought that just got acquired by Zendesk. They were in the AI era before most people, and today I'm excited to talk about the story and how for us at Claire also it's helped us be a better product for our own customers. Hey Sami, super excited to have you here. Thank you for making it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So you were working at LinkedIn and then you decided to leave LinkedIn and to start Forethought. Why did you leave LinkedIn to start Forethought?
Okay, so early days, as you said, I was at LinkedIn. I was on an H-1B visa. Eventually, who became my co-founder, his name is Dion Nicholas, very good friend. We had met when we were interns at Palantir and kind of bonded over playing basketball and sort of building things on the side. And one of the things that we were building, this is like 2017, was using these papers that were coming out about what's called attention mechanisms. It's a famous paper that came out later called Attention is All You Need, which is also called the Transformer paper. And transformers are the architecture for neural networks. It's the T in GPT. So in this kind of AI bubble that we were in, we thought this is really going to change how businesses operate. We were building cool demos. LinkedIn was great, and I was working on like an AI team. We were recommending people for you to connect with and to follow and things like that. But because of the scale, just the models that you got to work with were not as cutting edge as what I was getting to do at night in my bedroom with like Dion interfacing and getting very excited about the things we were building. So to his credit, Dion was the one who kind of took the plunge before me. Dion had just had a baby also. And so I knew I was going to start a company and I would have loved to do it with him. But it just kind of happened thanks to him. So why Forethought, why customer service? Not an area that we really knew much about. So I'd say it started from the tech. Again, we were very passionate about the tech and we rationalized to ourselves, to each other, why that was a good space to be in. We felt like, what are we doing with our lives if we're not jumping? And obviously we thought that was an AI moment, but 2022 ended up being the AI moment. So I ended up leaving LinkedIn in 2018.
So you were 24 years old at the time?
Yeah, I was 24, yeah.
Why customer support? Because it looks like you were really interested in a tech. You guys were 4 years early
yeah.
on the excitement that there was in AI. You guys were truly looking at papers. You were looking at the actual research, the actual core of the technology and seeing what applications can there be. Why customer support?
So many reasons. So one, from a business standpoint, massive market. The little that I had read by that point about business was pick a big market. And I think this is a big one. That's why you see lots of kind of players in the space. That's a good thing. The other thing, more technical in nature, was that because the problems are repetitive, you needed lots of kind of examples of the same issue because you had to train models. You couldn't take a general language model or general model and just one shot, as it's called. And so customer service, lots of repetitive issues, the kind of thing that models like to be trained on. So that was good. And then the ROI, that was a big piece. The ROI is super clear. I think in customer service, you're super close and things are kind of anchored in the cost of labor, cost of people. And so right out of the gate, we could charge a good amount. That was also an important thing. And people kind of latched onto it from those departments. And so we just went in. Admittedly, not not what I would do next time.
Yeah, well, let's talk maybe about the founding story. So you're 24 years old. Was this your first company?
Yes.
How were the first few years? Did you find product market fit quickly? What was difficult about going from, hey, there's this research paper, there is this very specific market, which is customer support. The TAM is big. Okay, go.
Yeah.
How was the initial founding journey?
I don't know that any journey is like typical, but ours definitely wasn't. we came out of the gate pretty strong. We went out of stealth mode at this startup competition called TechCrunch Disrupt Battlefield.
Yeah, Silicon Valley, the show made it very famous.
Exactly. There's an episode about it. It's pretty much like that. So we got into that. It's 20 startups against each other. And then we ended up winning that.
Wow.
And then...
how'd that feel? Going from first
cool.
startup winning...
that's how we launched. Yeah. And I remember the next day on Crunchbase, we were number 1 trending. I still have like the screenshot. Number 1, Forethought. Number 2, Facebook at the time.
Wow.
That was very cool.
And to frame that.
Yeah. So we raised our Series A. We just like went straight to Series A, and we didn't deserve it, to be honest. We didn't have like the metrics, the product market fit. People wanted what we were selling. It sounded really good. It resonated at the time. People didn't trust AI in the same way that they do now. So our thing was agent augmentation, like an assistant to your support reps, let's say, because it seemed lower risk. And okay, well, let's see how that goes behind the firewall. And then we could talk about automation maybe. But I don't know that like any Copilot has completely nailed that, even when it works really well. It just kind of depends on who's using it. If they know everything already, the ROI is going to be lower. If they're new and things are like dynamic and changing, then it's a great tool.
Yeah.
But you don't want your like entire product and product market fit resting on, does this happen to be a good customer at the end of the day or not? And you can't necessarily know that ahead of time. So things really, really took off for us once we started doing automation after COVID. And there the ROI was super clear. And I'd say product market fit then was undeniable. It's not just that you can get customers and they're excited about using it, but it's you can renew them and expand them and acquire them cheaply enough. And once all these kind of metrics are in harmony, it takes a few years to even know that you have it.
Yeah.
That's probably when we knew. So it was like 3-4 years in.
Yeah. So maybe let's talk about this, because some people have a conception sometimes that like out of the gate, you have product market fit. But then when you look at like most companies, like even the most successful ones, like they take a few years. What took a few years for you? Was it training the product? Was it finding the right customers? All of the above? Like how did you get to a place where like, oh my God, yes, we have product market fit?
Doing that automation piece was probably the single biggest unlock, even though a lot of customers or prospects before they become customers were more like apprehensive of that. Anybody that we talked to was excited about augmentation. Yes, great. I want to use AI and make my workforce more productive. How can it go wrong? Not everybody was excited about automation. I think now today it's different, but it's sort of this adage of like the customer wants a faster horse thing. And if you have the courage of your convictions, we always had the vision that like AI was going to do all these things even before the models really caught up. I would say if we had jumped into that immediately, it would have been even better. But yeah, once it worked for a few customers, the ROI was just so clear. That's when we knew. And then obviously we benefited from the models becoming a lot better. And importantly, the market catching up and thinking, yeah, this is obvious. We should be doing this.
What were the first industries where you really, like what really started to work?
Ironically, fintech was one, and then you think like regulated industries. But that's actually one of the things about customer service is, as long as you're doing everything in a secure, private way, all of that, the like what's at stake in each interaction. If your worst case failure is that my AI couldn't resolve it, I'm going to escalate it to a team. That's not so bad. That's anyway what would have had to happen. So high volume kind of fintech, even like B2B and HR compliance. A lot of software companies, we were in Silicon Valley. That's kind of who would end up hearing about us. And then eventually e-commerce, retail, because high volumes kind of drove everything for us.
That makes sense. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the change into the AI era. So you're 24, it's 2018, you launched this, you're in a product market fit journey. Right around 2021, 2022, you guys redefine product market fit, things accelerate. And exactly that time, ChatGPT comes out and the world realizes that this agentic option is probably the future. What happened at Forethought at that point?
Yeah. We had already been like pretty tight with some people at OpenAI. I remember these hackathons that a friend would do like on the weekend. And we were using GPT 3.5 Instruct that was very close to ChatGPT. It's kind of the precursor model right before it. And it had an API. You could like use the API. We weren't yet using it in production, but we were kind of playing around with it. Seemed very powerful, seemed like it could be the future. But then ChatGPT came out and everybody went nuts. And our initial reaction as a business was kind of defensive. Like, no, this is the same thing that's already been there. It's just wrapped around the chat interface. It's great, but it's not revolutionary. We've been using things like it. Don't worry, you're in good hands. Like our customers, the CEOs were, starting to say, well, I use ChatGPT and it's really cool. And that's not the experience that I have in customer support with you today. What's going on? So that took about 2 weeks of us trying to fight the wave. And then we just realized like you cannot fight this and you really shouldn't. So we embraced it fully and we said, we too are ChatGPT. And we did some co-marketing thing with OpenAI and we went all in after that. One of the challenges was some of the team members who'd been like researchers and kind of trained in AI and had all these amazing skills and had built this tech stack. I was basically coming in and said, we got to like change all of it. And some of them were very excited and others were not. And it was a little bit of a battle, but we had to quickly like move past that.
At that time, did you feel that industries that were not previously thinking about AI to help with customer support were now suddenly interested in it?
Yes, probably. I think it took a little bit longer for enterprises and more regulated spaces to look at it. Everybody wanted to look at AI, but it was initially like, let's give our employees access to ChatGPT Enterprise or something. It wasn't immediately like, let's put AI to be customer facing and give it access to our data and that kind of thing. I think that basically happened more so early 2024.
So let's maybe talk about, right now it's 2026. What do you think is going to happen to AI providers over the next 4 years? Because of course you have, the language model providers that are entering into so many industries, so many point solutions in addition to just being model providers. And then you have these point solution companies that like, whether it's for legal, whether it's for customer support, where do you think we end up like 4 years from now and look at it from a technology lens?
Yeah, I think it's super hard to predict. I can't remember a time where things seemed more uncertain and volatile. But I think some of the concepts that were always important will still hold. So like you can have a really good like deep tech layer, but especially let's talk about like B2B, which is the sector that we're in. You have to have the good distribution to go with it. And it's just kind of painstaking work. And so you see some of the foundational labs now doing deals with private equity firms to kind of accelerate adoption in their portcos. You have to like do it kind of one at a time. I think there's a lot of room to specialize at the application layer. I think that really started to happen late last year, now this year. The two spaces that have been the most successful are coding, which is blown up. That seems to be, in my view, a little more like in the wheelhouse of foundational labs. And then the other one is customer service. And that one isn't as much. And I think some of the difference is that your buyer and your user are not software engineers. And you kind of have to sell to them and you have to learn their problems and kind of tailor the solution to them. That's where you see the rise of forward deployed engineers and that kind of thing. You don't need forward deployed engineers in coding because engineers will just kind of figure it out and you're speaking the same language. To the extent that that remains the case, if you're selling to anywhere in the organization outside of software developers, I think you have to build the right product. You have to understand the workflows deeply. You have to have the distribution engine. You have to implement and keep sort of expanding. And you need to rebuild the whole B2B SaaS model.
Yeah. So it seems like there's room for both.
Yes.
Depending on where
That's
you're going.
Good summary.
Maybe let's talk a little bit about this is now becoming a huge space. And then recently you announced that Forethought got acquired by Zendesk.
Uh-huh.
Right before that, you also became the CEO of Forethought. So then maybe let's start with the acquisition and we'll go backwards to becoming CEO. Like, talk to us about like the decision, to sell, and how does Forethought now and Zendesk combined become an even, more powerful tool?
It was not a easy decision, but nearly half of our customers were on Zendesk. Zendesk essentially created the category that allowed for Forethought to exist. So early days when we were still kind of training and fine-tuning models, we relied on the fact that every company kind of had the same data model. Mm-hmm. They had, structured things around tickets, XYZ. And that's because Zendesk, 10 years before had kind of created that category and everybody was on the platform. You just had to integrate deeply within that. We had good relationships with Zendesk folks, seemed very high integrity, trustworthy. We were frenemies. We would compete with them, but we also relied on their ecosystem and went to all their conferences and events. I had become the CEO about 1.5 years, 2 years before that. We were on a mission to build the best product, grow the business as fast as possible, raise some money, you get new investors in. There's all these growth expectations. We were doing well, but there was kind of this window of like, there's a lot of capital going into this space. And okay, we're on track. We were talking about raising a round, and it just felt like we can go from sort of hire like 10 sales reps at a time, 10 CSMs at a time, and hire the engineers, hit these milestones, go to the next one, raise more money, do it again. Or kind of, it had been a while. We thought we had built the best product, which when this came up, it felt like we could skip 10 steps and really see like, what would it look like at scale? Yeah, it kind of worked out. It wouldn't have been as exciting with anybody else. So.
Yeah. Well, as a customer of both Zendesk and Forethought, Claire's, excited and happy of like what we're going to be able to see with the companies combined.
Absolutely.
Anything that you can maybe share? Maybe the answer is no, but like publicly about now the fact that you're one company together, are the products going to look even more unified? What's the goal?
Yeah, I can definitely share. So when the news kind of came out, the headline for Zendesk was agentic service on any platform. So this is the first time Zendesk is branching out with its AI beyond the Zendesk service desk ecosystem. And so a lot of our customers are on Salesforce, ServiceNow, Freshdesk, etc. So that continues, and our whole team, all 110 of us, joined Zendesk, and we're building the product in the same way to tailor to all these different platforms. There will be some very nice synergies within the Zendesk ecosystem around visibility into kind of the whole end-to-end journey, not just sort of AI is here and your team is there. A lot of benefits from the data, like signals of this is how your human team has been doing things. And we have access to that more deeply than what is exposed through third-party APIs. And we use that to then generate the right agents and then improve them based on interactions. So that will be deeper. And then things around the kind of handoff experience between, the AI, your team, maybe back to the AI, that's going to get much more deeply integrated.
Any advice, for a company like Claire that, services over 200,000 businesses across the United States, over 3.5% of businesses. What's your advice as we keep scaling around servicing our customer base the best way? Do you think we're going to go into a fully agentic world? Do you think we're going to, have a separation between a premium experience with an actual, human? Like, where do you think this is going from a roadmap perspective for us?
The lowest hanging fruit was resolve issues when customers bring them and do it quickly, efficiently with AI. I think we've done that. We could do more, but that's looking really good. And there, fundamentally, it goes back to that idea of learning from the data that's there. So you have your team that you guys have trained up over years, and they've resolved these customer issues, and we can learn from that and sort of automatically generate these AI agents that can then mimic that performance and do it quickly, efficiently. That's there. I think the next step is thinking beyond kind of mimicking human labor and just all these types of experiences that weren't, economically viable to offer before, but now you can do them because AI is cheap. So like, you got to be creative here. So, and you'll know your business better. But during onboarding, if a customer drops off, maybe texting them saying, I noticed that you had this issue, do this, or I can call you. Again, it could be an AI calling. And that goes beyond sort of reactive question answering and support. If you think about this AI layer as a kind of a unified interface for how you interact with your customers, instead of just we have a chatbot for customer support, and maybe we have a different chatbot for billing and a different chatbot for something else. Really, it's this unified interface. Customers can come in, you can handle all sorts of issues, and then do it from other channels too. Call the customer, send an email, kind of at every piece of the journey. It doesn't have to be just when they have an issue. Yeah. So that's where we can work together on that.
All right. Well, we have some work for the two of us ahead. Sure. All right. Maybe for the people listening, you and I have to talk a little bit about something that when we were, 19 years old, you and I met each other when we were just turned 18. We're freshmen in college. You're from Lebanon. I'm from Switzerland. It was our first time in the US. We're both on visas.
Yes.
And then you and I got together and we decided to build something together that ended up not being a company, but we were 19 years old in a dorm in college. Do you want to tell everybody about this?
Yeah, this was to your credit. Again, that was your idea. So it was you, me, and our friend Tom Silver. Crimson Exchange. What did you? It was like a marketplace for students to just sell each other's furniture and books and whatever. So early in like the semester, things really picked up, and it was like all the hype. That's when we launched it, and we felt like Mark Zuckerberg on campus
for like 3 hours.
Exactly. And then a couple of weeks later, it just kind of died. It was pretty cool.
I think some of the learnings that I've had doing this was like finding product market fit is a lot about being able to develop the product, but also reach a customer where they are and understanding what they need. I remember at the time, there were conversations we were having, like mobile was not the big thing yet. It was starting, but it was not like, people I think were doing things on web. We also felt like you have to be very efficient with your cash. We had no view of, I think Tom was the only one who's American. And so we couldn't even like build anything in the country because you didn't have visas to do it. But I remember that like, for me, at least it taught me to be very, very scrappy. And also when you realize that something's so cyclical and there's no real way to monetize, Venmo was not a thing yet. It was just starting.
It's a lot easier now to build.
It's so much easier. Yeah. At the time, I remember that we also had to pay for hosting. We had to pay for all of these things, and it got expensive at the time.
I was just blown away by how good you are at marketing. I'm sure you've kept that with you, but it totally resonated with the class.
Yeah, amazing. Well, Sami, thank you so much for making the time.